conclusion, implication of finding. There is one more important point which should be addressed in the section titled as conclusion, and that is particularly about the implication of the study. Every research study is giving us some applications, particularly in social sciences. The study is, coming up with some implications. It could be pedagogical implication or policy-related implications or practice-related implications. So those implications must be highlighted in the conclusion section, right? So the point is that how would you develop a compelling conclusion? And the compelling conclusion is that your readers are not only reading it with an interest, but they are also expecting something about the existing situation of the field or the focus of the study, right? So that's the point where we expect that a study would give implications, particularly regarding the findings. When a study is based on contemporary issues, contemporary problems, right? And particularly, as we have been discussing in this course, that every social sciences study is based on at least one problem. We are starting up our study with the statement of a problem, right? So when we are dealing with problems and in applied linguistics, particularly when we are concerned with some problems, it may be related to the teaching of English or the teaching of any other language, right? So language teaching or curriculum designing or motivation or any social, psychological, pedagogical problem. So there should be some problem at the base of any study. And when you are concerned with contemporary problems, then you are expected to be coming up with possible consequences, right? That what contemporary issues exist and what would happen if those issues are not taken up, right? So that's actually the implication. When we talk about contemporary issues and the possible consequences, then and we are studying something related to those contemporary issues and possible complications and consequences, then we are actually working with the implication of the study, that whatever study we are finishing up must be coming up with some implications, okay? So those implications must be highlighted and recommendations must be made based on specific course of actions or courses of action as the result of the study, right? So you discussed an issue, right? Thoroughly, inside and outside, right? And you went through a very valid, very reliable research design. And then you came up with particular results. And now you discussed those results and found something, right? In a very solid manner with a very authentic proof. And now it's the time for you to recommend something, right? Recommend a particular course of action or courses of action in order to highlight a problem, in order to solve a problem, right? So that's the point which must not be forgotten by researchers at the conclusion section. And in some cases, we may be having some pedagogical implications, particularly when your study is related teaching methodologies or teaching techniques, right? Or a syllabus designing, right? So in such cases, you would have pedagogical implication. And when pedagogical implications are there, then you must be, submitting your recommendations to relevant authorities, right? Relevant, community of practices, right? So that's the point where your implications should go. And you must explain the consequences of your research work, right? Or the recommendations of your research work. And while giving up this implication based on your findings, you must also mention that if any sort of action or any course of action is not taken up, then what would happen, right? So that's really important that the consequences are highlighted, right? And then we must also emphasize the ultimate point, right? In terms of implication, that what would happen, how the problem would be solved, and what would be the output of the recommendations, right? And that is actually, the implication is the take-home message. And that take-home message is really important for practitioners, for policymakers, for someone who is at the at the helm of the affairs, right? Who would decide that, okay, this study proved, and finally the evidences are really justifiable, they are true, right? So definitely those authorities would take those actions which are required, which are recommended, right? So that must also be included in the conclusion section.